Okay, I think we can start. So today's topic is expresiones de obligación. So if you're just coming in, make sure you pick up a handout. Yeah, if anybody missing one? Okay, so what we mean by expresiones de obligación is just basically how to say must, or has to, or have to. So I'll run through the basic ways of doing that, and then we'll do some practice. So first of all, deber, obviously that's a key item in this. In principle, quite easy to use, but there are one or two complications. Hi. So obviously expresses obligation, as you might expect. Just some examples. Debe trabajar más si quiere ahorrar. He or she has to or must work more if they want to save. By the way, in terms of expressing obligation, I always think deber is quite formal sounding. You know, it's the kind of thing you often read in contracts or lists of regulations, just like here. Los empleados deben cumplir con el código de ética empresarial de SIP global. Whatever some company. But you see, it's a kind of a formal, it's a formal requirement. So that's deber fits nicely there. But we'll see in a second. There's a much more kind of much more usual way of expressing obligation. I mean, just to jump ahead, what do you think that is? Rather than deber, tener que. That's right. So tener que for me is much more the kind of everyday obligation verb. Yeah. Now, deber in the conditional is arguably more common, because this is the way of expressing should. Yeah, so deberías responderle si no quieres que se enoje. You should reply to him or to her if you don't want him or her to get angry. Yeah, so notice you've got the conditional of deber. So really, in that sense, it's exactly like French, for those of you who are doing French. Yeah, the way to say should is deber in the conditional. And so obviously if you want to say should have, like, you should have done it, how are you going to say that? You're just going to say deberías, and then have will just be haber, and then if it's done it, haberlo hecho. Yeah? So should have is in principle deber in the conditional. Here's another example. ¿Quién debería decidir eso? Who should decide this or that? Yeah. So I always think deber is actually more common than in the conditional, because that's the way to say should. You can use it to just express flat obligation, but as I say, that for me always has a slightly legalistic kind of feel to it. Now, deber de. I like deber de. That is, I've got it here because the class is, in part about deber. But really, deber de is all about supposition rather than obligation. Yeah, probability or supposition. So she must be happy because she's on holiday. Debe de estar contenta porque está de vacaciones. Yeah, deber de. Yes, that's your must of supposition. Yeah, because obviously in English, must can be either obligation or it can be supposition, can't it? You must go. That's obligation, but supposition would be I don't know. He must have been there. You're not kind of obliging him to have been there. What you're doing is saying, it's my supposition that he was there. Yeah. So for that second use, it's deber de. Yeah. Although, in fact, sorry, I'll give you some examples before I make the point I'm going to make. Deben de ser madre e hija, supongo. Yeah. So rather than a, I'll just change that now while I'm here. So that's an example I inherited from Gustavo. Unlike him to leave a mistake in there. They must be mother and daughter, I suppose. Deben de ser madre e hija. Yeah, so they must be. That's your suppositional sense. Anyway, the point I was about to make for that example is that Spaniards and Latin Americans often use deber without de in this suppositional sense. Yeah, but if you're one of these kind of what do they call them? Grammar. What's the word? Grammar fascists. Is that the word? What's the word? Grammar Nazis. Then you reserve you use deber de for your suppositional sense, or even if you just like allegedly correct language. But you will hear a lot of people commonly using deber without de in the suppositional sense. So there's an example I just culled off the internet today. Marianita, su hija, debe tener unos 20 años. Strictly speaking, should be debe de tener. Yeah, because it's a suppositional use of deber, isn't it? Marianita. Yeah, sorry, can you see there? Am I in the way? Yes, sort of slightly, unfortunately, placed screen. Yeah, so can you see that? That really means debe de. Must be. And again, another. That's very bad, isn't it? Años. That's probably me cutting and pasting wrongly. Sorry about that. Yeah, okay, all clear so far? So far we've got deber as flat obligation, which I said is maybe slightly legalistic. We've got debería or deberías or whatever, meaning should. Deber de, supposition. Now, in the preterite, deber is slightly strange, and even I sometimes have trouble quite navigating this particular aspect of Spanish grammar, because it can have multiple meanings. I mean, depending on the context, could mean had to, could mean must have, so give it, with a suppositional sense, could mean should have, making it a bit like deberías or debería haber. Let me illustrate that. Debí trabajar todos los días para pagar las cuentas. I had to work every day to pay for the bills. I suppose that's that simple case doesn't seem too problematic. I suppose that's what you expect it to mean. I had to work, and indeed I did work. Yeah. Debió llegar tarde y por eso lo echaron. So that would be like he must have arrived late. There's a suppositional sense creeping in there, isn't there? So deber in the preterite can have that suppositional sense. Now, I suppose if you were to use deber de, which is what you'd expect really in a suppositional, how would you do that? I mean, the way I'd do it is like this. Debe de haber llegado tarde. Yeah. So he must have arrived late. So that's what. That's the way I do it naturally. But you can use deber in the preterite. You can just use flat deber in the preterite. Yeah, so you've got the present tense if you do it using deber, but the preterite if you go for the straight. So the present tense if you use deber they, but the preterite if you use flat deber. Now, what about this? Debiste decírselo antes. Yeah, that's your should have, isn't it? You should have told him so, or told her, before. And again, rather than using debiste, that's perfectly fine, debiste, preterite, but you could use debería. So in that case, you go for deberías habérselo dicho. Yeah, can you see that? Deberías habérselo dicho. Or if you like, se lo deberías haber dicho. So this preterite use captures what would either be the present or the conditional if you use the alternative forms. To be very frank, I always find this preterite use of deber, debió llegar tarde, debiste decírselo antes, as slightly kind of illogical. These two make much more sense to me. So if you prefer these two, use them. Yeah, these are much more like, I suppose, the English structure, aren't they? He or she must have arrived, or you should have said it. Yeah. It's obviously up to you. Personally speaking, I prefer these structures. They make more sense to me. Yeah, but you will come across these uses here. Yeah. Does that look alright, or is it rather late in the day to take that in? Yeah, it's a bit late in the day, isn't it? But does it make sense anyway? Yeah. Basically, I think deber, particularly the preterite, is a bit of a minefield. Yeah. And even here, I'm simplifying slightly. There's one or two even more kind of strange structures, which you probably don't really need to bother with. Just to sort of stay with this topic here, just one or two possibilities, things you might come across. Debió decírtelo, debía decírtelo, debería decírtelo, no debió decírtelo. Just to illustrate, I'll give you the translations now. Debió decírtelo. God, what does that mean? Debió decírtelo. It could be he or she subject, obviously. Debió decírtelo. Debió decírtelo. He or she should have told you. Yeah, as per what I just said. But I suppose, too, it could also mean he or she must have told you, no? In light of the previous slide. Yeah? But anyway, quite frankly, if I was going to say she should have told you or he should have told you, I would really say debería habértelo dicho. Yeah? For me, always, if it should, go for the conditional of deber and then use haberlo hecho or whatever. Yeah, but you can do it this way. And what about debía decírtelo? Debía. Well, that's just really the past tense of debe decírtelo. So if debe decírtelo means he or she must tell you, then this is just he or she had to tell you. But again, here too, my own personal preference would be tenía que decírtelo. Yeah, tener que. Because again, if it's just flat obligation, tener que, I think is more natural in speech. This is fairly straightforward, isn't it? Debería decírtelo. Simply, he or she should tell you. Yeah, that's the clearest one. And no debió decírtelo is simply the negation of one, isn't it? So he or she shouldn't have told you. Yeah? But again, for for, I would normally say, well, in the light of, how would I normally say for, in the light of the preference I just expressed? What would I say? No. Habértelo dicho, yeah? That's right. No debería habértelo dicho. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so with these pronouns here, the te lo, they're either going to go on the infinitive or they're going to go before the finite verb, deber. Yeah, as per the normal rule. Yeah, you all know that, don't you? I mean, I mentioned it last year. Yeah, if you want to say, if you have puedo hacerlo, you can say that, and you can also say lo puedo hacer. Yeah, so likewise here, you could say no debió decírtelo, and you could also say no te lo debió decir. Yeah, and likewise, if we go for the deberías version or debería, no te lo debería haber dicho, or no debería haberlo dicho. But what you can't do is put the te lo on the past participle. Yeah, it's got to go either on the infinitive or the finite verb. Okay, I think I've laboured that quite significantly. So we can move on to tener que, which I much prefer to deber. I mean, you know, to put it crudely, if I were you, I would reserve deber for the conditional, yeah, and use it primarily, you know, to mean should, and potentially also in the suppositional sense, deber de. But if what you want to express is just had to or must, I would generally go for tener que. That's what springs into my mind. So tener que. Yeah, this can always be used instead of deber in the obligation sense. And in my view, it's better. So I've got to go to the doctor. Rather than debo ir al médico, tengo que ir al médico. Rather than no debías estudiar, why not no tenías que estudiar? Didn't you have to study? And tuve que trabajar todo el fin de semana. I had to and indeed did work all weekend. Yeah. So I would genuinely recommend using tener que as your normal word for must or has to. Is that what you all do already? Yeah? Or do some of you go for deber? Perhaps due to French influence maybe, because obviously in French devoir is very normal. In Spanish, tener que, I think, is a very nice way of doing it. Yeah, and on that point, you do get tenía que versus tuvo que. You know, you get the imperfect versus the preterite for tener que. What is the difference? I think I've hinted at it, haven't I? In that example just now, tuve que trabajar todo el fin de semana. What that means is not just I had to work all weekend, but I did. Yeah, so it's not just my obligation, it's what I actually did. So if you use the preterite, that means you did whatever is actually mentioned. So compare María tuvo que comprar un coche with María tenía que comprar un coche. Which one necessarily means María bought a car? Is it one or two? Number one, that's right. Yeah? So that's the difference. If all you're saying is that, you know, as things stood, it was necessary for her to buy a car, without indicating whether she did or she didn't, then it's tenía que. If on the other hand what you mean is she had to and did, then it's tuvo que. Yes, there's an important difference. Yeah? You know, so let's say I had to go meet someone immediately after this class, and I got there late, and I said, "Oh, sorry, I had to give a class from 5 to 6. Is that going to be tuve que or tenía que?" Tuve que, that's right, because the I'm saying that's what I did, not just what I had to do. Now, what about haber que? Looks like tener que. Anybody want to offer an explanation as to the difference? Go on.
It's more general and impersonal.
That's right. Impersonal is the word. That's right. There's no subject for haber. Haber que. Exactly. So tener que is to have to, but haber que is completely impersonal. Only occurs in the third person singular, but it's used in all tenses. Hay que is the most familiar. Hay que pagar las cuentas a principio del mes. You know, the bills have to be paid at the beginning of the month. One has to pay the bills at the beginning of the month, or whatever. But it's impersonal. There's no subject for hay. In the conditional, the conditional of hay is habría. So, habría que decirle a Federico que cancele la reunión. You know, it would be necessary to tell Federico to cancel the meeting. Hubo que llamar a la policía. It was necessary, and one indeed did, call the police. And había que levantarse temprano en aquellos tiempos. You know, at that time it was necessary, or one had to get up early. Yeah, so you can see how they all work. It's haber que, but here's the present, here's the conditional, here's the preterite, and here's the imperfect. Yeah, but it's the same structure in each case. Yeah? And conceivably that's everything. Yes, that is everything. That's just some extra stuff which appears on the handout in the form of an exercise. So, I think we can now proceed to the exercises on the sheet. Able to copy the sheets? So if you want to work through those for 10 minutes or so, and then we'll have a look at what you've got. Anybody else? Anybody else? Let's have a look then. Yes, let me just format that in such a way that I'm not giving away the answers as we go along. All right. So what are we saying then for number one? ¿Qué cosas qué? ¿Qué cosas no deben? That's right. Yeah, so obviously the idea is which things must not be lacking on a trip. In other words, what must you definitely bring with you on a trip? Yeah? It can really only be deben, can't it? Number 2. Well, I suppose you could also have no tienen que faltar. Yeah, why not? Go on.
Why couldn't we have no deberían?
Ah, yes, very ingenious. And in fact, perfectly good, yeah. Which things ought not to be lacking? Yeah, so fine, in fact, yeah. You couldn't have tener que because there's no K written down there. Yeah, but I mean, it would also be possible. But as you only had one word, it's really got to be some form of deber. And as we've just seen, it could also be in the conditional, meaning should. What things shouldn't be lacking? Okay, the next one then. Ayer. What are we saying? Well, if it was yesterday, unlikely to be tengo que. Tuve, yeah. I had to. Yeah? Because I suppose it kind of implies not just that you had to, but you also did. Después me... Go on, anybody? Me debí de dormir. Is that what somebody said?
I said debe.
Okay, correct tense. Would you want to revise maybe the form? If it's may, obviously.
Every possible.
But what I mean is, if it's may, yeah, it must mean me or I. So obviously the verb ending, if it's present tense, is going to be
Debo.
debo. That's right, debo. That's what I was getting at. That's right. Yes, it's common regard in suppositional sense. Yesterday, I must have slept, or gone to sleep rather. Yeah, the verb to go to sleep is dormirse. That's why you've got a reflexive pronoun there. So, me debo de haber dormido. I must have gone to sleep because no recuerdo más de esa tarde. I don't remember anything else about that afternoon. Yeah. So the pronoun here, in this particular example, the speaker has put it before debo, but it could also go where? That's right. So you could also say después debo de haberme dormido. Yeah? Both are completely possible. Here we've just gone for the may coming before the debo. But can you see how that works? It's deber de, and your verb is dormirse, reflexive. That's why you've got this reflexive pronoun here, me. Yeah, does that all make sense? So afterwards, I must have fallen asleep or gone to sleep because I don't remember anything else about that afternoon. Number 4 then, the internet. No. Very good. No debería haberse inventado nunca. The internet should never have been invented. Number 5. En los años de la posguerra, in the post-war years, we... What are we saying there? Tuvimos, very good. Well, actually, tuvimos would work quite well, in fact. It's actually the sentence, the original sentence is from somebody who was saying that was the state of affairs. Yeah, you know, if you wanted to live, you know, you were obliged really to work hard. So it's kind of description of the state of affairs. But I suppose if you wanted to labour the point that, you know, that was necessary, and indeed we did it, then tuvimos. So both would be possible there, in fact. So who said tuvimos? You did, yes. That was a good instinct. Both are possible, but in fact, that's actually taken from a text where it was in the imperfect. But tuvimos would do as well. There's a really sort of only a slight nuance of difference, I suppose, in that case. Number 6, estas naranjas. Number 6, esta mañana. Esta mañana. Yeah, I suppose it must be, mustn't it? Esta mañana. This morning, we must go to the bank. Now, there is a tuvimos there, yes. That's why I hesitated, because I knew that was coming up. So you might say, what on earth is that doing there? And the reason that is there is because, again, that was taken from a text, a dialogue. It was said by somebody in the afternoon following the morning. Yeah, so it's this morning we had to go to the bank. And you were naturally thinking of, it is this morning now, and so we're saying this morning we have to go to the bank. Yeah, so that'd be perfectly logical, but in fact, the underlying sentence was somebody speaking after the morning had finished. Yeah, saying, this morning we had to go to the bank. But in fact, that is an unfortunate ambiguity. So why don't I change that for future well, I'll do that later. Yeah. So this morning we had to go to the bank. But if the meaning was, this morning we have to go to the bank, then you're entirely right. Tenemos que ir al banco. Yeah. Okay. Happy with that one. Number 7. Estas naranjas son buenísimas. These oranges are really good.
Could that previous one ever have been teníamos? We should have gone to the bank, but we didn't.
Well, if it was should have, yeah, if it was should have, probably my recommendation would be deberíamos haber ido. So esta mañana, if you want to say this morning we should have gone to the bank, then I'd definitely go for deberíamos haber ido al banco. Yeah. Well, the thing is, because you've got K in there, then it's got to be some form of tener, hasn't it? Yeah. So the only argument is it tenemos or is it tuvimos? Yeah. In other words, is it are we saying it when the morning is still live, or are we saying it after the morning is finished? Yeah. Was another question here? Someone have their hand raised? No? Okay. Number 7 then. What is it? What's the answer? What's the missing word? Did I hear Debbie or Deben? Deben. Correct. That's right. They must suppositionally come from Valencia. Yeah. Deben de venir. Wait. This one here, number 8. Hay que avisarles. They must be alerted. They must be told. What's missing then? Tienen que salir a toda prisa. They've got to leave really soon. Number 9. Lo veíamos claro. We could see it really clearly. Note the imperfect, because that's important. Precios desorbitados, extraordinary prices, y todos comprando, everybody buying stuff, hipotecas por un tubo, really expensive mortgages, y gastando lo que no teníamos, and spending what we didn't have. Yeah? The classic scenario before the financial crash. Yeah? So, no había. That's right, no había. You didn't have to be a banker or an economist to see what was coming. Now, can you all see why that's había? It's got to be some form of haber que. One didn't, it wasn't necessary to, or however you want to translate it, but it needs to go in the imperfect in light of the rest of the sentence. Go on, question?
For that last one, would tenía work?
Well, the thing is, who would be the subject of tenía? Because the point is, it means one didn't have to be, or you, in a kind of general sense, didn't have to be, but you're not talking about any specific person, are you? Now, if you have tener que, no tenía que ser, then who's the subject of tener? Yeah?
Yeah, so it'd be a works better here.
Well, it's not so much it works better, that's the only way it works. Yeah? Tener que, I mean, you've got to, tener que requires a specific subject, but obviously there's no specific subject either mentioned or understood, is there? Yeah? Go on.
Can you use the impersonal say with tener que?
Yeah, you can do, that's right. So
So if you did that, would you say no se tenía que?
no se tenía que ser. Well, I suppose it would be understood, but it sounds a bit weird. Yeah? No se tenía que ser. Yeah? But you can, in general, use se, the impersonal reflexive with tener que. Yeah? But here isn't a good opportunity for that. Yeah? Alright, number 10 then. No sé cómo no os da vergüenza publicarlo en YouTube. Por lo menos, at least, haber pedido permiso a los autores originales. Have asked for permission from the original authors. So what's missing here? Probably some kind of should, would you not agree? Therefore, they're very nice. You got the correct vosotros form. Who else would have come out with deberíais spontaneously? Ah, very good, very good. Yeah, deberíais, conditional of vosotros, tricky form. Deberíais, yeah. Because you've got os there. Yeah. Yeah, can you all see that? It's got to be vosotros because of os. Yeah? And finally, number 11. What are we saying there? To fly to Oviedo, you've got to go through Madrid. Hay que. Very good. Now, to come back to your question, could you have se tiene que? I suppose so, yeah. But again, much better hay que. Yeah. I mean, basically, rather than se tiene que, I'd go for hay que. Go on.
I just wanted a question about number 8.
Yeah. We've got to tell them they'll have to leave a toda prisa. Yeah, why not? Yeah, I mean, it would make sense, that's right. Slightly different kind of feel to the overall sentence, but perfectly logical, yeah. Okay, then, in los últimos 3 minutos, which bits go with which bit? What are we saying then? Tuve que esperar 2 horas, coma. Yeah, por eso llegué tarde. Yeah, you happy with that, everybody? That makes sense? Yeah? Does that look good? You all get that? Right, what about B? Tenían que irse. We've got a suggestion here for D. Pero la tormenta les daba miedo. Now, what do we think of that? And that is indeed the correct answer. Very good. Yeah. They had to leave, but they couldn't really because they were frightened by the storm. Number 3. Tiene que estudiar mucho. He or she has to study a lot. Very good. Yeah. He or she has to study a lot if he or she wants to pass the exam in May. Yeah, you happy with that, everybody? Number 4 then. Tenía que esperar 2 horas. You know, I was facing a 2-hour wait. We're not saying you necessarily did do the waiting. Very good. Así que me fui. So I went. Yeah, there you see the fact that the tener que in the imperfect doesn't imply you actually did the thing that's mentioned. Tenía que esperar 2 horas, así que me fui. Yeah, sorry, in the big font it's coming out it's not that easily to read. Anyway. What's the number 5 then? Tuvieron que irse. They had to leave, and they did leave. What are we saying? Cuando las cosas se complicaron, when things got complicated. And finally, well, pretty obvious I suppose, debe de estudiar mucho. He or she must study a lot. By supposition, their notes, their marks are brilliant. Yeah? Any questions about that? Very good.